You're such a sweet child, and I will make use of you. In fact, I'll use you until there's nothing left.
Our first Grand Hero Battle healer has arrived. Eremiya gets to have that honor, and while we have had reward healers from Tempest Trials before, we've never had one from a Grand Hero Battle. We'll be looking at what she can do and if she is worth using. First off, Eremiya is an infantry healer, and for her stats, she has 44 HP, 32 attack, 35 speed, 23 defense, and 27 resistance. 44 HP ties with the recent Summer Reese for highest base HP out of all healers, but since Eremiya can't get boons, she technically isn't going to be at the very top. Still, that's a solid amount of health for a usually frail support class. Eremiya's 32 attack and 35 speed are also impressive since 35 base speed ties with Loki for highest among infantry healers. Again, no speed boons, but that is a really good starting point for a reward unit. For defensive stats, Eremiya doesn't have any crazy high stats left. All her points are focused into HP and speed mainly. Just from a glance, Eremiya is actually not too shabby, especially for a free unit. Healers are not typically super fast, so Eremiya sits in a good spot if a speedy healer is what you want. We'll talk more about similar units later on. Unfortunately, stats are going to be Eremiya's main selling points because her base kit is not that amazing. I'm really disappointed that for our first Grand Hero Battle healer, they didn't even give her a unique staff. It doesn't even have to be anything crazy, but just something to stand out would have been nice. Instead, Eremiya has the plain old Panic Plus staff. After combat, if unit attacked, inflict the panic status on target and foes within 2 spaces of target through their next actions. Nothing wrong with the panic staff, it sure is annoying, but it's just kinda boring. For Cisco, Eremiya has Physic Plus, which is our 2-space healing skill, another perfectly fine skill, especially with all these solo-based abilities in the game nowadays. For her special, Eremiya has Miracle, which you know they gave her just so they can pre-charge it up for that Grand Hero Battle fight. For her A skill, Eremiya has Attack and Res push 3. It grants +5 attack and res when at full HP, but inflicts 1 recoil damage after combat, so you need to heal back up afterwards. Healers can get around this with Live to Serve or the Martyr Plus healing skill, but we already can get Attack and Res push 3 from Brady in the 3 to 4 star pool. I would have been way more excited if this was Attack and Speed push. For her C skill, Eremiya has Distant Guard, which grants nearby allies +4 defense and res when they fight ranged enemies. This is a good support skill, no complaints here. Overall, Eremiya's most interesting traits are her stats. Her base kit is something you would see on a standard low rarity healer except for Distant Guard, which is the best skill here if you want to fodder something. There isn't really any special synergies going on, so expect to inherit some skills onto Eremiya if you want to invest in her. If you do plan to merge Eremiya up, she does get some good bonuses. The Neutral Nature will add +1 HP, speed, and res, and Eremiya mostly cares about that extra point of speed. If you +10 Eremiya, she will end up with 49 HP, 36 attack, 40 speed, 27 defense, and 32 resistance. While I won't be discussing tanky builds much today, I will say that Eremiya can be quite bulky with all that base HP, and she definitely can avoid some doubles with 40 speed before we start to add on any other skills. For comparisons, here's a quick look at our 3 other reward healers. Summer Reese, Valentine's Silk, and Ethlyn are all Tempest Trials units, so they are inherently more expensive if you want to +10 merge them. These 4 healers are all quite different, and Reese is the only other infantry healer here. Once again, I'm sad they didn't give Eremiya some kind of unique staff or even a new type of inheritable staff like Reese and Silk got. One issue with building up healers is that there are just not many unique staffs out there, so everyone starts to feel pretty similar. You can slap on these same inheritable staff, healing assists, and special onto different healers, and generally they'll perform that healing role the same. Add on the lack of any kind of healer owning passive skills, and well, it basically just comes down to stat differences and movement types. The biggest criticism of Eremiya as a reward unit is that she is extremely similar to Emeren stat-wise with no other unique traits. Emeren has 1 less HP and speed but 3 more resistance, however she can choose a boon which can push her over Eremiya's slight advantages. It then comes down to spending heroic grails versus getting copies of Emeren through RNG summoning. Availability is a factor, but I cannot imagine most players would spend heroic grails on a healer with no unique staff or skills, rather than merging up one of the many other reward units with unique traits. If you want to use Eremiya because you like her, then that's perfectly fine, go for it. In terms of gameplay though, I wouldn't say she has any big advantages over Emeren. Now besides Emeren, we can see that Eremiya stacks up quite well to the recent healers added to the game. You could say she is just a better Brady. Mercy and Lena aren't super slow, but both are more focused on having higher res if you want to tank better. For the most part, Eremiya has good stats if you want to focus on speed, and that's what we'll be working on mainly for builds. While Eremiya doesn't have anything super crazy in her base kit, you can keep everything if you want a budget build. You would just need to add a B skill like Live to Serve or Wings of Mercy, and a Sacred Seal like a second Distant Guard skill. Stacking those would give +8 defense and res for your teammates when fighting off ranged threats. If you want to make some changes, I would again focus on speed because we can give Eremiya the Wrathful Staff Refined to basically turn into a colorless mage. In the A slot we can't use things like Darting Blow, but we can use Bonds and Form skills, which are great since typically a healer is going to be sticking with their team anyway. Speed and Res Bond can be gotten from Tethys, and Speed and Res Form can be gotten from Wrath, and both are demoted units now. You can also just use good old Speed +3 for the Super Fire Cell option. In the Sacred Seal slot, you can utilize Attack and Speed Bond or Chill Speed to help out the team as well. If you use the Bond skills, you need to worry about positioning, but at least Eremiya can fight back more effectively. For alternative healer assists and specials, you have free reign to choose what you like. Recover Plus or Restore Plus are both solid healing skills. Instead of Miracle, you can run Imbue or Heavenly Light for added healing effectiveness. Now if you want to go all out on premium skills, Eremiya does have these stats for that typical offensive healer build. Summer Reese's Palm Staff is a really solid option for damage builds because it debuffs the enemy with -5 speed. It also has an attack debuff, which is nice, but we want that speed advantage to get more doubles. You can run it with the classic Wrathful Dazzling Staff combo to avoid counterattacks, and will need a strong A skill as well. Attack and Speed Push 4 is a good skill that healers can actually use, and it works on both phases while also giving a large +7 attack and speed boost with no positioning worries. Healers can also use the Martyr Plus healing skill since it heals the user, so you can keep the push skill active. The Sacred Seal slot might still need to run Attack and Speed Bond, but healers can also run solo skills, so you can also slot in that Speed and Res solo seal if you want. An alternative can be low attack and speed instead of Dazzling Staff since its combat debuffs stack with the Palm Staff itself. If you'd rather go for a supportive build, then you can instead take Valentine Silk's Report 1. This staff grants +5 attack and defense to the ally with the highest speed stat, so you can literally be helpful from anywhere on the map. We can also take advantage of Eremiya's good base HP to apply Panic. You can use Sudden Panic or Panic Ploy. You can also use Infantry Pulse if you need that extra special cooldown. Speaking of infantry units, I still always like talking about using Times Pulse on a healer with the Balm Plus specials. Since those are 1 cooldown specials, Times Pulse always recharges them every player phase, and you can use the Restore Plus skill, which can dispel debuffs on full health allies, which would proc the +6 buffs from the special. It is pretty crazy to spend the valuable Times Pulse skill on a healer though, so I'm not saying you should do it. Now I don't have it listed here, but Eremiya probably could also run a super tanky setup with Fortress Defense and Res 3. I talked about it for Lena because she has that defense super boom with okay speed, but Eremiya could also probably get away with it as well if you want a higher speed starting point. So should you 5-star Eremiya? Well, the main thing about her that stands out is her base stats. 32 attack and 35 speed is pretty great for a reward healer, and 44 base HP is also very high. Eremiya's skills though are not anything special. She has pretty standard healer skills, and attack and res push 3 is okay for one-off encounters. Distant guard is her best fodder skill available. All in all, healers just don't have a lot of uniqueness to them because we get such few unique staffs and there are virtually no unique passives for healers. The main way for most of them to stand out is through their stat spreads, and Eremiya does do a good job filling in that speedy infantry healer role as a reward unit. The problem is that she is very similar to Emran, and in terms of merges, you have to spend heroic grails versus RNG summoning. As mentioned, I don't think most players are going to want to spend heroic grails on a healer with no unique abilities when you could instead build up Mini Minerva, Ashnard, or whoever else. There's just not a lot of benefits to spending those grails when you can just use any other summonable healer out there. If you like Eremiya, she is solid and she has the benefit of being cheaper than the Tempest Trials healers if you do want to merch her up. She also has some fun voice lines, and I do like her little hat on the chibi sprite. Overall, most players probably won't have any need for Eremiya at this point, but she's not that bad as a unit. I'm also just disappointed that after more than 3 years, we finally get a Grand Hero Battle healer and they didn't even try to do anything special. I'm not asking for Brave Veronica or Brave Camilla levels of busted, but I think Ashnard and Mini Minerva are good examples of just how a small bonus like having out shield in their kits makes them so much more interesting. Regardless, that's all I gotta say for this video. Let me know what you guys think about Eremiya in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.